Hey everyone, this is Cesar from Farmers Insurance, Cesar Pineda Agency, Norwalk, Connecticut. Welcome to our next installment of Business Strong CT. Today we have a really cool guest, a guy that, believe it or not, we go way back and we're just now getting to know each other a little more. But we both grew up in Greenwich, somebody that does something really, really cool, really exciting, which is that he's a chef. And so with us today, we have Chef Ben LaRose. And he's going to be telling us about his how did he get here, what he's planning to do for the future, his really cool branding, which he's going to talk to us about a little more in a second. But before I keep speaking about him, let me just let him introduce himself. So why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is Chef Benjamin LaRose, or Ben LaRose, or just Chef as people call me. I'm the chef owner of Fork and Delicious, as you can see right here. And I create memorable experiences for people and create great guest experiences.
And so how do you get here? Like, how do you become a chef to start with?
So actually, it happened by accident.
Yeah.
I was working in my uncle's restaurant as a dishwasher, busboy, and then kind of a server here and there. And somehow it just kind of became a prep job. And the next thing you know, I was running the Bobby Q's pit stop in Greenwich.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that, but
yeah, that goes way back.
Yeah,
it's like hitting something in my brain, but yeah, barely.
So I learned how to use a knife there. I learned how to cook there. My cousin Joey taught me how to use a knife, how to cook. And after a couple years being there, I decided that I wanted to go to culinary school. So I applied to San Diego Culinary Institute, got in there, and I moved there in 2013.
Nice.
And kind of just learned how to cook. I mean, I did barbecue for a while, and then I wanted to learn more. That was the biggest thing. And so, watching people eat my food at the beginning start of my career, it was more of it didn't feel like a job. That's the nice thing. And I got to enjoy people enjoying my food.
Yeah.
And I saw how magic can happen behind it. And that kind of led to me wanting to learn more. I wanted to expand my knowledge and be able to cook more than just, what I learned.
Yeah. But so it's in your family. So
it is my family.
We're talking about generation and generation of like.
Oh yeah, I'm Italian, man.
There you go.
My grandmother cooks, my father cooks,
Sunday
my uncle cooks. My Uncle Bobby owned the restaurants, and then my cousin Joey opened Joey B's in Greenwich originally, and now he's with Fjord Fisheries. It's a long line of people in my family that are about food, not just at home, but in the industry.
Of course, yeah. And the Italian blood, I mean, Italian food, right?
You can't not have it. We live off food. It's in our blood. You cut us and red sauce comes out.
But so remind me, so you grew up in Greenwich? Like
I grew up in Greenwich. My family, most of my family lived there and grew up in Greenwich. And then I ended up moving into Stanford schools when I was in 6th grade.
Gotcha.
And for me, that was a big shift. A lot of things changed when that happened, because whole different group of friends.
We had it pretty good in Greenwich. I'm not gonna lie.
Listen, I mean, I was in 6th grade, so that's a vital time for a switch. That's when I started learning bad habits.
Freaking Stanford, man.
Yeah, listen, I love Stanford. It's in my blood. I personally, whenever people ask me, since I basically grew up in Stanford after a long period of time, that's where I'm from.
Yeah.
But deep down roots are Greenwich.
Gotcha.
And everyone knows, when you're coming from Greenwich, everyone assumes that you have that money line behind you, which is not always the case. I mean, parents may have money, some people may have money, but it's your walk of life. You choose your path. Some people get the silver spoon, some people do not. And that's the one thing I've learned in my life.
And I do have to say, like, again, being from Greenwich, also, like, having grown up there, like, there were opportunities that we got that I'm so incredibly grateful for. But yeah, like, there's problems. We had what was it, like, race wars?
I was about to say the race war at Greenwich High School.
It lasted for one
I was
day.
in Stanford schools by then, and I heard about it. But we also, that happened in Stanford too. The Albanians and it was chaos.
But it's so funny to think about that in like this area. But
I know. I heard some girl bit some girl's cheek or something.
Oh, dude, I saw that. I was there. I saw it full.
I heard that in another school.
That's nuts, man.
But it doesn't matter where you come from in the end. We're all people, and that's something that I'm using my platform for now.
And guess what? We all like to eat.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely. Everybody loves fucking food, man.
So go back to what you were saying about, like, so you're Italian, so you grew up with a lot of Italian food, but you went to school to learn what kind of cuisine?
So it was traditional French cuisine and technique.
Okay.
A lot of it, but we took different courses. So there was like a poultry course, there was a knife course, basically around the world course,
Wow.
So we got a little dabble with everything.
Wow.
And it was kind of nice because I didn't go to culinary school for a degree. I went for a certificate program because I was working the whole time while I was in school.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I couldn't do a full 4-year school. So I did a certificate program. And it was great. The school has since closed down, which is unfortunate because COVID happened. And,
The one in Sacramento? Or
San Diego.
San Diego?
Yeah. So it was great, but the staff was amazing. I still keep in touch with two of the chefs who were my teachers.
Nice.
To this day. They randomly send me messages. They're like, "You're doing great, chef." I'm like, "Oh, I'm chef now. Thank you."
Yeah.
You know, you're not a
The badge
chef.
of honor.
You're not a chef until a chef calls you chef.
Well, I know that because of that show, The Bear.
Yeah.
Dude, that's an amazing show.
That's a great show. And honestly, it's very specific to, it's the most accurate that I've seen to a show that will reference the industry.
Even that like hectic pace.
So you remember in the first season when they leave the printer on and all the tickets keep spewing out? So there was one night when I was working at the Hilton in San Diego. And I think it was Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. It was my first real shift on a line with over like 700 on the books. And we got so weeded that the tickets were printing out. Mind you, this is my first time on a real kitchen line. The tickets were just spewing. And I didn't have time to read the tickets. And I was running two stations. Plus I was making up for the kid next to me that had called out sick. So I had over like 150 tickets at one point.
Somebody messed up though, or that was just?
No, I was just cranking out food. I was hoping that we were sending out the right stuff. So I was cooking like 20 calamaris, 20 orders of French fries, throwing a pizza in the oven, just trying to keep up with the flow.
Yeah.
But at that point, you're not reading tickets. You're just going.
Well, you did it, man.
I did it.
That's amazing.
I won't lie. At one point, I had a couple of tears come down my face. I was trying to get the food out, but that was my first introduction into chaos in a kitchen.
It's funny. Like I feel like that sometimes is a good way to get introduced to an industry. Funny enough, when I started in insurance, it was the day after Hurricane Sandy.
Oh, no way.
So imagine that. My first freaking day. My house is gone. Like, what the hell?
I mean, this is a good time to get into it. Unfortunately, unfortunately, but fortunately, But, I got to learn a lot there. That was my first introduction. That was my first sous chef position that I earned. Nice. I'm going to put quotes on earned. Me and the sous chef at the time got into it, and he got let go, and I had to take it. But hey, listen,
it's yours.
It's my job now. But and most people who know me, who see this, know the story behind it, and we can't talk about it on camera. So I'll tell you the story afterward. But
you have to do a paid subscription for that one.
Exactly. Subscribe. No, I'm just kidding. But no, it was a really good experience because I got to see what it was like through banquets. Fast casual service in the restaurant, and then also having to do the catering aspect as well. Okay. So, in the mornings, sometimes I would pick up a shift and I'd do the banquet prep. So I'd have to make all the fruit trays, clean the fish for the line, and then as soon as we went into dinner service, I'm doing the mise en place for the line.
A lot of prep, bro.
Oh yeah, especially in a hotel.
Yeah.
But from there, I mean, I dabbled with a lot of places. I mean, I've done catering, I've done hotels, I've done casino relations. Like the casino was a really, really hard experience because when I got hired as the grave sous.
What is that?
Graveyard shift starts at 10 p.m. and you get off at 7 a.m.
And at a casino, that's like peak hours.
It can be, yeah. You can get your ass kicked at like 3 in the morning randomly.
Damn.
But it was one of those things that like, it built my character because like I was so used to just, the crank out dinner service, get drunk with my friends and then go home and then go do it again the next day. But instead I was doing the opposite. While everyone was out getting drunk, I was working.
It's like if they put you on day shift, you'd be like bored out of your mind.
I wouldn't know what to do with myself sometimes. But then eventually my days evened out. But it started with that graveyard shift. We're jumping ahead to Phoenix now. That was in Phoenix, Arizona. So that's some time ahead. But, it would start with like, then once that graveyard shift ended, so they put me on 2 days. Okay. So I'd work 3 graves, 2 days.
Yeah.
And that would mess with you because, you're used to sleeping during the day. And next thing you know, you're going from a 7 a.m. shift and then you have only like a 4-hour turnaround to come back in to do the day shift.
I actually worked nights at a hotel as well. I was night audit.
Oh, okay.
And there would be times I couldn't sleep. So I would go like 28, 24, 48 hours. Because, I just can't.
Because, I mean, realistically, I come out and I'm like, oh, it's daytime. My brain just switches back on.
And you get home, you're like, I'm going to take a run. And the people doing the
people doing the normal stuff. Or just doing their normal day to day. All of a sudden my phone starts ringing and like people are like, what are you up to today? I'm like, I got to work in like 7 hours. Just leave me alone.
Yeah, man. But all right, so let's go back. So you left Connecticut, you went to California, you got your certificate, right?
Yep.
And then you went straight into a restaurant.
I was still at the Hilton for a couple years. It was fun. I got to learn a lot there, but also experience in California was nice.
Yeah.
I learned how to ride a motorcycle. I got my first motorcycle. Dude. Got that taken away real quick because I was a little reckless. But it was a good time, you know, and that's when my life seemed the most like manageable because I was living that California laid back lifestyle.
Yeah, San Diego's
you know.
super. Like,
Everyone's
slow
so
and-
chill,
yeah,
especially
yeah.
in San Diego. It's not very fast paced.
Right.
You know, I used to go to LA a lot because I had a couple friends that lived up there and go up there and have a weekend up there if I took a week off. It was a good time. I mean, a lot of people I knew from Connecticut actually were moving out there as I was living there.
Yeah.
But then eventually, I actually got my dog, not the one I have now. That's Rogue, but I had a dog, Capone. I got him in Lancaster,
nice.
California.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my buddy right there. He moved to Phoenix with me, but the cost of living got so high that I just couldn't do it anymore. And so up on a whim, I decided. I went and visited one of my buddies who was moved to Phoenix like 6 months before. One of my neighbors from California. And I actually I went to visit him in January. And I was like, oh, it's beautiful here. I love Phoenix. It's great. Because it was like 70 degrees and like
in
40,
January.
50 degrees at night. It was like the most ideal temperature. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to move there. So I decided to move to Phoenix with one of my ex-girlfriends in June. And in June,
Yeah, then you got to see the real.
I
Phoenix.
figured it out real fast once I got there. Because as soon as I got out of the car, it felt like someone opened the oven door. Because I was like, it's hot. It was like 105 degrees.
Yeah.
And the breeze was hot. It wasn't even like a cool breeze.
Yeah.
Because I forgot what it's like when you're not near an ocean.
Right.
You don't get that cool breeze. So
Right.
it
We
just
get hot here, but not.
Have you ever
Phoenix
opened an
hot.
oven where the
my
hot
God.
air blows
Yeah.
out? That's what it felt like. And I literally got out of the car and I was like, what the fuck did I do? But I ended up living there for 5 years and I loved
you
it.
stayed there for.
I
5
loved
years.
it. I loved it.
So you got used to it. It's like with everything, right? You just kind of get used to it.
You do.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, it's a dry heat. 110 degrees is 110 degrees. I don't care how you put it.
110 degrees is stay inside.
Yeah,
degrees.
no. And I had an all black car. I had a black on black on black car. So even with the tints, you get in that car and it was like sweltering. It'd be like 130 degrees in that
Dude.
car in the middle of summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen the photos. Like the tires melt.
It's funny. I have a scar right here because I got in my car with a wife beater on,
Oh no way.
and the seatbelt thing was so hot it actually seared my side.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was that hot. You know, it was during that period of time. I think it was in 2017 when they had to close the airport for 3 days because it was 118 degrees 3 days in a row.
Yeah. That's when it was.
Yeah, and the
everything was
planes were
melting.
landing and
Yeah,
the tires were popping. So when I moved to Phoenix, I actually was working with a marketing company doing like kind of like a side thing for restaurant depots where they had like little demo carts. So I was traveling and actually training people
Yeah.
to do those demos. People that have no business cooking, teach them how to make like quesadillas and stuff.
Yeah.
It was interesting, but I got tired of flying to San Francisco like 6 times a month, you know?
Yeah.
So I was outside Restaurant Depot one day, and I was about to leave, and I ran into this guy. His name was Mike Beltran. And we ended up becoming pretty close, and I ended up working with him. So he hired me at this place called Ensemble Catering, which was a fairly like growing catering company. They had their own venue, and then they owned the catering company.
Yeah.
So, which was beautiful. It was called Venue at the Grove. It had a huge grove of trees, and it was one of those places that you wouldn't picture you'd see in Phoenix.
Yeah.
But it was cool. So I ended up working with him for, I think it was close to 3 years there. I learned a lot from him. He's a very, very talented chef. Shout out Chef Mike Beltran, man. He was on Chopped.
Yeah.
So almost won. But no, he's very talented, and he was very big on learning. Nice. So, you know, the constant growth. That was one of the things I loved working with him. Like, we would be constantly trying to come up with new things, put processes in place there. To
What kind of food was it? Like,
so it was a little everything. Like, Mike makes a joke, and we still joke about it to this day when we randomly talk, is you ever seen the movie Chef?
Yeah.
He develops the
Cubanos.
So you remember he goes, we're going to go with the basics, the normal, and he rounds off the menu.
Yeah.
It was like that because people would order like a lot of the catering was essentially the same for the weddings because people seem to gravitate towards a certain menu.
Right.
But you know, I'll never forget we did, and you know, this story is epic. So we did a Valentine's Day pop-up at a venue, and we go there and we find out the kitchen doesn't fucking work anymore. They had scouted the place, and we had I think it was close to 70 people that were coming to this pop-up.
Yeah.
So we made a makeshift kitchen in the back of a box truck while it was raining. We're cooking with our cell phones and the one little box truck light that's in the back with that dim-ass light.
Yeah.
So we're trying to saute. We have an oven in there, and we're cooking out of this, and we're using the tailgate to push the food out to people.
Oh, damn.
So we ended up doing it, but man.
So you have to get creative.
Oh yeah. And but that's the thing I love about the industry is nothing's ever the same. You're always trying to figure out something, you know. So the wheels always have to be turning. And, you know, you have to be a quick thinker and think on your feet, and you got to figure it out, because in that situation, you know, we had people who paid for a dinner. We had to make it happen, so we made it happen.
Right.
It was one of the most interesting experiences I've ever had.
Well,
And I still talk about it when people are like, explain a situation where you had a speed bump and you had to overcome it. I'm like, that's the one. That's the biggest one. It's almost as bad as when your walk-ins go down.
Yeah.
You know, that's a scary thing in a restaurant. You know,
But like you said, that builds character, and now if it happens next time, you're like, oh,
I'll just go rent a truck and rent some equipment and make a makeshift kitchen. You know what I mean?
No big deal.
Exactly. But I was with him for a while, and it was a great experience. When he left, I was acting executive chef for a bit, but you know, that's when I got the opportunity with the casinos, and that was one of the things that I wanted to learn different operations and learn how to, like, you know, bigger scale.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me, when you're in a position like you were, where you're trying to get into the culinary industry, and you know, what's the go-to place? Like, what's like the goal? Obviously, I assume owning your own place.
So a lot of people want to own their own place, but a lot of them also just want to have comfortability, and once they fit in with a restaurant, a lot of people stay a long time.
Like, be part of a team.
Exactly.
It's more important than just being like, oh, it's mine.
Exactly. And I mean, for me, it's a 50-50 thing. It's like, yes, my long-term goal is to have a restaurant.
Yeah.
Actually, two. We'll get to that. I'll explain them. But the short term is once you have that camaraderie and that chemistry in a kitchen, it doesn't feel like you're working too hard, because everybody flows with each other. Everyone gets along.
Right.
That's how we were at the catering company. But at that point, Mike had left. I now was in that space where I wanted to kind of just try something different. So I interviewed with the casino, got the job with the casino, and it was great. I mean, I got to meet George Lopez. I did the opening of his restaurant in the casino.
Nice.
That was an experience. I mean, but that's when me personally, and I know we've talked about it, and I shared about it on another podcast, when my life started getting a little messy. And I started partying a lot and having too much fun. And that rock star lifestyle of a chef, as they call it, took a grip of me. And I didn't know whether it was me just being me and having fun, or if it was me trying to use the chef life as an excuse to have fun.
Well, that's where I'm curious. So again, to what I was asking you. So like, you could go to a restaurant, you could go to a hotel, you know, which has a lot of catering, a lot of and then casinos. Like, you know, I'm thinking like, like you could go this way, you could go that way. Do you think that the casino is like a more desirable environment because it's like a little bit of both worlds?
I think it would be to some people. Some people are just restaurant cooks and chefs. That's how it is. Some people are country clubs. Some people... Country clubs are another beast. We'll get to those because I hit those eventually. I worked at them eventually. So, but yes, you find your niche. Some people are just not cut out for certain things either. Like, I've seen kids come in and fall the fuck apart.
Is it that intense? Like, people are yelling at you?
Like, I mean, especially me. When I was a younger chef, man, I yelled at everybody.
Yeah.
I would eat people alive on the line.
It's like expected of you almost.
Oh,
right?
But like, it's that mentality. As you're younger, you think you're the shit and you think you know everything.
Yeah.
You don't.
Right.
And then one day somebody hits you with that and you realize you don't know fucking anything.
Right.
Compared to somebody else.
So there's a lot of ego that needs to get checked.
Exactly. And I learned that little too late in life for in many reasons. But you know, also the reason why I couldn't, I fell into the restaurant industry was because I was constantly getting in trouble. So for me, it was easy because like I could go work at night and it kept me out of trouble. But also it was the only job I could get for a little bit, you know.
But like we said, it was also, without you realizing, it was in your blood.
Exactly. Like one day it clicked and I didn't feel like I was working anymore. Right. That was the nice thing. Like I didn't feel like I had to go to work. I felt like I got to go to work.
Yeah.
And that's why I fell in love with the industry. But there I ended up going to work for Ruth Chris Steakhouse for a while. I was actually the youngest executive chef in Ruth Chris Steakhouse.
Oh, nice.
Any of them.
Wow.
Yeah. That was, I want to say 26 or 27.
Was this in
Phoenix?
In Phoenix.
Yeah. Okay. So that was my last stint job in Phoenix. Gotcha. And it was an experience. It happened so I was there for about a year, right, going into COVID. And the month before COVID had hit, I interviewed for the Southwest corporate chef position.
Yeah, also in Phoenix. And
so I would have been in charge of Arizona, Nevada, Southern California, and Utah as a chef. And so they gave me a nice little signing bonus, all that. And then COVID hit 2 weeks later. Boom, position dissolved.
No way.
I had spent all the bonus money that I had gotten from signing that contract.
They expected you to give it back.
No, they didn't. But they wanted me to go back to my original restaurant where they already had promoted my sous chef to the executive chef. They put me back as a sous chef.
Wow.
I was like, I'm not doing that. So I actually came back here for a week and I interviewed for the executive chef position at Capital Grill.
Okay. And you got it?
I did.
Hey.
And so, like a month later, I was driving across country
Dude, that's
in the
crazy.
middle of
So
COVID.
all your like moves have been so like almost like unplanned.
Yeah,
right?
it just happens.
But they work.
Well, and
Right?
it all comes full circle at the end. So, like we talked about I'm in recovery.
Huh.
One of the things that I learned about myself in this process is that I was just running for myself a lot of the time.
Well, who isn't?
Like, especially when I felt like I was about to lose a job, I would quit and
Yeah.
find another job right away, you know, because I was messing up my own life. But, you know, the demographic changes. I thought I could run away from myself and it would follow me. And you just learn that over time.
The
you know?
idea of a fresh start. kind of
Exactly. I would be like, I want a fresh start. I want a fresh start. But then I would do the same shit I did when I left. So I moved back over here, and, you know, and that was a great job. You know, working for Capital Grill, Darden, great company, and I had a great time. I ended up leaving there to go do restaurant openings for this company called Isla & Co. And so I did a bunch all over the country, and I ended up landing in Dallas for like 4 months.
Nice.
And I saw that kind of dwindling, so I interviewed with David Burke. I don't know if you know David Burke. David Burke's a very well-known chef out of the city. He's done a lot of restaurants. He had his own restaurant group originally, and then they switched up, and then he reopened it again and rebranded himself. And that was an experience.
Yeah.
In itself. You
But
know?
like good or bad?
Celebrity chefs are another breed, man.
Good experience or?
I mean, I learned a lot. I learned a lot of what not to do.
That's a good
That's
takeaway.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, celebrity chefs are different.
Yeah.
You know, I've met a lot over the period of time that I've been in the industry. Like I met Scott Conant. I don't know if you know who he is, but
I'm not super familiar with the industry.
Scott Conant's the redhead that's
but
always
I
on
love
Chopped.
the shows.
Yeah. So Chopped, one of the guys that does the judge part. Is a lot of time it's this guy Scott Conant.
Gotcha.
He's from Connecticut originally.
I bet you if I saw a photo, I would know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's very recognizable.
Yeah.
But I worked with him at one of his restaurants in Phoenix for a little bit called Mora Italian when they were reopening and rebranding their whole menu. That was cool because he's actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
But like I said, celebrity chefs are a different breed.
Right.
And
it's all show, right?
it's a lot of show and a lot of ego.
Yeah.
So, and like we talked about, there's a lot of ego in chefs in general.
Yeah,
so you get the regular chefs who have ego, then you add the celebrity to them, and holy shit.
I like how you put it about like the rock star lifestyle because I mean to a certain extent, like being a chef is nowadays looked at like, oh my god, you're like a freaking rock star.
Well, yeah.
You go, cook for famous people all over the world. You travel.
Yeah.
You party, right? All this stuff, right? Obviously, there's ways it could go wrong.
Oh yeah. Well, and I mean,
but it sounds cool.
well, and I mean, the perfect example is Anthony Bourdain. He passed away, but God, bless him. I have his portrait on my leg.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, very talented chef, but ate alive by his demons.
Yeah.
The one thing I learned about chefs is that they're the hardest on themselves. Like me, for example. Well, I'll get to that in a little bit. But, I'm very hard on myself, especially when I look at my dishes.
Yeah.
But just in life in general, I do it in everyday life. Everyday life, I'm constantly criticizing myself. Did I get enough steps into today? Did I eat well? Did I, do the best job I can for my dog today? Did I respond to this person in the correct way, or did I speak out of ego and emotion? That's a lot of what my thought process is now. But it took me a long time to get there.
Yeah.
Because while being in recovery, that has helped me a lot because, working the steps in this 12-step program, it helped me kind of break myself down, understand who I am and where I need to be and where I want to go.
Right.
Who the true Ben is.
Right.
I'm not that egotistical chef that needs to fucking yell at people, throw shit at people, fucking go out and drink and fucking not sleep for 3 days.
I'm sure some of the yelling's still there.
Yeah, once in a while.
Pick up the fucking plate.
I don't. It's not. And now it's more of a teaching moment.
Okay.
I would love to yell at some people, but then I remember that it's not going to get me very far. That's why and we can fast forward through all the other stuff. I did restaurant openings for David Berg. I did restaurant openings for that Parch Hospitality Group.
Yeah.
And then I started working at country clubs.
Yeah.
And by now I'm in the thick of like me being a mess.
Yeah.
I had an excuse now because I was working 6 a.m. till 1 a.m.
Yeah.
6 days a week,
Yeah,
even sometimes 7 days a week. So it was constant no sleep. So I would adding the drinking and the partying and all that while I'm doing all that. So it made it more acceptable, but in my head at least. But as I went through it, a lot of people were looking at me being like, yo, are you good?
Yeah.
And I wasn't, but I kept saying, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good.
It's normal, man. And look, going back to what you were saying about like, you're basically an artist. And it's funny because I like maybe 5 out of the last 6 people I've interviewed are in one way or another artists.
Yeah.
This is a recurring theme, right? Everyone's like, oh, some days I just don't believe it. Like, I doubt things, I doubt that I have the raw talent, whatever it is. But all of these people, including yourself, have done some amazing shit.
Yeah.
Right? And it's kind of like, it's the proof that you're an artist.
Yeah.
The fact that you have such high standards for yourself.
Oh, yeah.
That you're trying to raise the bar always.
Well,
so it's a recurring thing and it's a cool thing. It sucks at the moment. Obviously, nobody likes to feel that way, but hey.
And so now I own my own company, Fork and Delicious, and we're growing the brand and we're learning how everything's done. One of the things we do is chef's tables dinners.
Yeah.
And that one goes 2 different ways. We do ticketed dinners, which is the chef's table experience on a restaurant scale. So like you can see it. It's a menu that you won't know what it is until the day of. So we sell the tickets. People get the post of the menu the day before, and then that's what you're getting.
Yeah.
We ask them obviously allergies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But with that, like I did one last Monday.
Nice.
And that was the first Fork and Delicious influencer dinner / chef's table experience that we brought to a scale of what it was.
Yeah.
And as I'm putting these plates out, they're beautiful, but like I didn't notice how beautiful they were until I sat down and looked at the pictures because I was criticizing the shit out of my plates as I was sending them out. And I was like, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. That's not good enough.
Yeah.
But people were like blown away.
I actually saw some of the photos that you posted in the last post. I think that's the one.
Yeah.
It looks delicious.
I mean,
it looks so good.
Some people were just like, how did you do this? And I'm like, honestly, my mind goes places. Like, for example, the day after the event, I was exhausted, right? But the first thing my mind went to was, I need to write the menu for the April 26th event that I'm doing.
Say again, you're a workhorse. You're like
it just
really
doesn't
taking
stop.
the craft serious.
It doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Like I literally today, as I was driving around doing my normal job, because I'm a food rep during the day right now. I stopped restaurants in October and just decided that I was going to do food rep and build my brand.
Right.
And like for example, today as I'm sitting at a red light, I'm jotting menu ideas down.
Yeah.
My brain's always thinking about food. It never stops. Like sometimes I have dreams about them.
That's how you know this is not a job for you.
No, it's fun.
Yeah.
And like for I think the brand that we're building is huge on the fact that the motto is change the world one plate at a time, because I want to use my platform to change lives, not just sell food.
Right.
Like the biggest thing right now in the world is kind of like that uneasy feeling that a lot of people have, and within a lot of the communities. And for example, one of the kids that was working with me at the event on Monday used to work for me at Sally's.
Yeah.
As a line cook, and he's Mexican descent. He's here on a green card. He has to go back voluntarily to get his new visa. Right. He doesn't know if he's coming back.
Yeah, that's messy.
And that's scary. Yeah. I mean, I feel bad. He's a great kid, very talented cook. He's been here for 26 years. There's no need for all this, Yeah. But I only can do what I can,
Yeah.
But like I said, I want to use the platform to change lives. So like, for example, in June, I'm doing a Pride Month dinner. And I'm going to donate 80% of the proceeds to a charity in Bridgeport that helps LGBTQ community children.
Nice.
Like trying to find their way and learn about themselves. So I'm donating that to them. The May dinner is going to be coastal cuisine probably. I think that's what we're leaning towards. Like we're writing out all the menus for the next couple of months, but nobody will get to see them until they get to come to dinner. Exactly. Nobody knows what's on the menu.
That's why it makes it cool.
Exactly.
You're like always guessing what's the next one. What's the next
exactly.
one?
And it's all unique. None of it is stuff that people have done. That's the thing I like. For example, we did a deconstructed tres leches on the last menu.
Ooh.
But half of the plating came on the fly because the ice cream didn't work out. I couldn't scoop it. So we ended up redoing the whole plating idea. It was kind of cool.
That's awesome, man.
But that's the thing, is thinking on your feet. You got to be able to create and think on your feet.
So do you think you have a style now? Like that you're like, that's my style? Or you're still kind of like exploring and always trying new things?
I think there's a specific style I lean towards, but it's forever changing.
Yeah.
Because there's like in this industry, trends are changing. You learn something new, you want to incorporate it. I'm a chef, but I don't know everything. And any chef who says that they fucking know everything's a fucking liar.
Yeah.
It's what it is.
Yeah.
You know.
There you go.
Exactly.
Like what we're talking about, yeah.
Like I don't know everything, and that's where I've humbled myself. You know, I can learn something from the average cook.
Yeah.
You know, like I pay attention to what people do around me as I'm doing it. So like, I mean, you could ask anybody who was at that dinner with me that was working with me, because everyone actually volunteered their time that night. Nobody got paid, which was a beautiful thing in
Yeah,
itself.
that means everyone was there because they wanted to.
They
That's awesome.
wanted to be there. They wanted to support me. They wanted this to actually be a thing.
Nice.
But you know, as we're doing the dinner, you know, one of the girls that works with me, Sammy Harris, shout out to you. She does all my social media and marketing. She looked at me and she goes, "You're always paying attention to everything." I was like, "I have to be."
Yeah.
Because I need to know what's going on around me at all times, because I'm not trying to control the environment.
Yeah.
But if I need to problem solve and lead the situation, I will. You know, that's one of the biggest things in restaurants that I learned, is that you always have to have your head on a swivel, because, you know, I could be, this side of the kitchen could be doing great, and the next thing you know, you look over here and that whole side of the kitchen's going down in flames, which is going to back up the rest of the place. But it's a great experience. You know, I mean, it's the people I've worked with, the people I've been around have built me to who I am. And I can't take the credit for knowing everything, because I've learned everything because of the people I've worked with.
Right, and like you said, it doesn't stop. Like, you're still learning.
I mean, I'm constantly reading about new things. Like, there's a book that I love reading. It's called The Flavor Matrix. Teaches you odd pairings with food.
Okay.
And I'm constantly looking
Give
at
us
that.
an example.
Like, for example, lamb and coffee.
Lamb. All right. Yeah.
That was one of the signature dishes that I put on the last menu, was a coffee rub lamb loin.
It doesn't sound bad. It doesn't sound
No,
like
it was delicious.
Yeah.
But like, and then strawberries go with that as well.
Have you ever had red bean ice cream?
Yeah. Oh,
Right?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, when I was a kid, the most like, oh, that would be gross, is beans and ice cream.
Yeah.
And then I come here and then I find out that that's a thing. And
Well,
I'm like,
because at
it's
Hibachi,
great.
at Hibachi,
Yeah.
at Abyss and Gunners, was the first time I had it.
Yeah.
And it was delicious. But like, you know, those weird pairings are always the things that change people's perception on food. You know,
Somebody
like,
tried it and
well,
it
like
wasn't bad.
with the coffee rub lamb, I did a strawberry chimichurri.
Oh, damn. That sounds good.
Yeah, I was just like, well, let's try it. And it was a hit, you know?
Wow.
But that's the thing, as a chef, you have to be willing to step outside the box.
So there's so much creativity that you could do, right? But so, like, again, going back to your style and stuff, like, actually, let me go back even further. You were telling me about Anthony Bourdain, that you have a tattoo. Who else are your big influences that really shaped what you've built now, like your style and your...
So a lot of it came from, obviously, Anthony Bourdain was one of the ones. Jacques Pepin, I grew up watching with my dad. Julia Child, like, these are just names that like built my mindset on like learning. But then Massimo Bottura out of Italy, he's changed the game so much. I don't know if you guys ever watched Chef's Table on Netflix. He's like episode 1, season 1, I think it was.
Okay.
And I watched him plating, and I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then, like, you know, my buddy Mike Beltran actually had a lot to do with how I learned.
He should have won, man. He should have won.
He should have won, Mike. Should have won. It's bullshit. But no, like, I don't really take any styles from chefs, but I build my own off of the ideas that I see.
Right. Because, I mean, like, what we're saying is, like, nobody's going to do the same thing twice.
No.
It's always going to be slightly different, right?
Exactly.
But it is cool that somebody gave you a cool idea and you're kind of like, oh, I want to try that. But what if?
Well, because like one of his things is like Massimo would splatter plates his dishes. So I take a spoon and hit the sauce, and it looks like it exploded. I love that.
Right.
But for me, I mean, I haven't figured out a plate where it looks good yet. So eventually, I will use that.
So how important is presentation for you?
Right? Oh, huge.
Yeah.
Like for example, the lamb dish that we plated. I made sure that I put out every single dish that night, because I had in my head I had it a certain way.
Yeah.
But like, I've also learned to trust other people to do their job.
Yeah.
That was a huge process in this, because this is like my brand, my name, my face. Like, I had to let my ego step down while I was plating and let people just do their thing, and it came out beautiful, you know? Yeah. I got to shout out a couple of people. Adam Vora, he is essentially like my business partner. He has a company called ARV Enterprises, and they do event management. And I've known him since he was a server at Capitol Grill when I was the executive chef.
Wow.
And he actually is working a program too.
Yeah.
So he's been sober for almost 3 years, I believe it is now.
Nice.
So he was my inspiration to kind of help me go that way in a way. Samantha Harris, obviously, social media marketing has been a huge help. She's actually the one who pushed me back into Fork and Delicious.
Yeah.
Because I fell off of it for a bit because I was just dealing with life itself.
Yeah.
So she was actually, you need to do this. So she actually gave me that little push. And then Matt Bossy, I mean, he is a very talented chef. He's basically my point man / sous chef for Forkin, essentially, or my culinary partner. I don't really know what we call that yet, but we met when I was working at Sally's, as I was a KM at Sally's in Fairfield.
Nice.
And we trained him for his location in Wethersfield. He actually worked with Michelin star chefs in Italy at one point. And so his drive to create and my drive to create actually paired really
motivate
well,
each other.
man.
That's really cool.
And like during the event, I could trust him to make things happen while I couldn't be in the kitchen, which was huge. You know, 'cause otherwise I'd be running around with like a chicken with my head cut off because I need to, manage the kitchen and, present the dishes, because part of the experience is going to the table and explaining what it was. And the huge concept with that dinner that I did which was awesome, and Matt helped me a lot with it, was Connecticut and New York influencers. That was who we invited. One of the things that I wanted them to learn was food that is sourced from Connecticut.
Oh, cool.
So each dish in that dinner, the 6 courses, had 1 to 3 ingredients that were in each dish that were sourced from somewhere in Connecticut.
What's Connecticut known for?
So Connecticut's obviously known for what it's known. Everybody knows that. But like,
well, pizza,
exactly, the pizza. So I sourced a lot of the dairy products. I got the lamb from Connecticut. I got all our microgreens. I got a lot of the greens from like private vendors that I found at farmers markets who I reached out to, and I was like, I need this, this, and this. And they're like, all right, here you go. So it was kind of cool because we did like a pasta dish. We did a scallop dish. We did a smoked blueberry burrata with pistachios. We did a deconstructed tres leches, and we did the lamb.
And I know a lot of this stuff is hard to like visualize, so I'm gonna link to his page where he has all the photos.
Yep.
You're gonna be able to see all this stuff. You're gonna be salivating like I was when I was watching.
Well, and
photos.
Plenty more to come, so keep that in mind too, because once a month we're gonna be doing these dinners.
Nice.
So, and obviously they're gonna be a little pricier, but you gotta like that's the thing is like people don't understand what goes behind the scenes on these.
Right.
I'm sourcing these ingredients myself.
Right.
It's not like I'm calling Cisco or like a big brand and getting a big batch of something. I'm going to handpick every single thing that's on this. We're hand making the pasta.
Yeah, tell us about that. So you know, there's a lot of prep. Like that's the known fact, but like how much do you have to prep for a single event like this?
So leading up to that last event, me and Matt did about 9 hours of prep 2 days before it. I woke up at 2 a.m. to make lobster bisque.
Wow.
Just because I couldn't sleep, and I was like, I'm going to make lobster bisque. I probably could have done it a day, but the process was about 5 hours just for that total.
Yeah.
You know, because I made a gochujang lobster bisque, which is like a spicy lobster bisque.
Yeah.
With like a Korean style paste.
Oh, that sounds so
yeah,
good.
it was.
Wow.
I even was surprised.
Yeah.
You know, when you sometimes you probably
get to try them all, obviously. Like
exactly. I have to taste as I'm cooking because I'm not going to put something on a plate if I don't know what it tastes like.
Yeah, that's delicious, man.
But like there was about I want to say around 9 hours of prep that we did combined. But that's not including what we did in the week leading up. Like
right, even just the marketing,
exactly, and he made all the pasta at his house and brought it fresh down.
Wow.
You know, so he did that on the side, and like for example, like during the week, I was sourcing the stuff. So it took me about 8 hours to source everything because I was hand picking the lamb, I was hand picking the microgreens.
Wow.
So it's one of those things that like the quality behind it leads to the experience.
Right.
You know,
plus what's cool is that like, you know, what you're saying about you're concentrating in Connecticut because we're in Connecticut, but you have all these experiences from the other places you lived at that you know what's what. Like,
exactly.
So you're not just like, oh, I'm going to do a Phoenix style dish. It's like you lived there for 5 years. You freaking know.
I even went to Chihuahua for about 3 weeks to learn how to make authentic Mexican food from real abuelas.
Damn, man. That's
so I know how to make authentic mole.
Nice.
Which hint might be on the next menu.
Well, again, this guy knows what the hell he's doing, so look out for that.
So, but yeah, like I said, I mean, the platform is not just food.
Yeah.
The platform is a change.
Yeah.
You know, I want to change the industry. I want to change like people's mindsets. I want people to eat the food and bring it back to when they're a kid or the experience, or if they sit there and the senses are connected.
Yeah.
So if you smell something, it reminds you of a taste, or if you taste something, it reminds you of a smell from when you're younger.
It triggers a memory.
Exactly. I want that to be part of the experience, but also I want to be able to be a platform where people feel comfortable coming to talk to us. You know, essentially express how you feel, or if you need a chance, we'll give you a chance. You reach out to me and you want to understand what it's like to be in a kitchen, come work with me.
Yeah.
You know, or like I said, that dinner where we're donating the proceeds, you know, I want to be able to change the community too and give back. I want to get to that platform where I can be the change.
Yeah.
You know, and right now I'm just trying to be the voice of change and obviously bring great food with it, you know. So that's the biggest aspect, you know. And the one thing I've learned about while I've been in the recovery aspect is that I can't help everybody, but I can do my best to make a change, you know, or give that like extra hand to somebody. That
your experience is definitely giving you perspective that like, you know, some people just need a little like
little nudge.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I need a nudge still to this day. You know, sometimes it's like I don't feel like doing anything today, so someone will call me. You know, because that's one of the things they teach you in recovery is you call people, and someone will call me and they help me that day because I didn't know what I was doing that day, but now I know I'm helping somebody.
Right.
And that makes you feel better.
So tell me, how did the brand Fork and Delicious start? I mean, again, I said this to you off camera. Great freaking name.
Yeah. So Fork and Delicious actually came. It started in Arizona in about 2018, but I just completely let it go. I started everything. I even got the email and all that, and then I just never did anything with it. But the name kind of came because my mom told me I cursed too much, and so like she was like, "What about? Can you stop saying fuck so much?" Shout out, Mom.
Like, Mom, I don't fucking curse, okay?
I was like, I don't know. I call them sentence enhancers, man. It's like you sprinkle a little spice on the sentence. You got something cool. But you know, the biggest thing was like she told me not to curse so much. So like one day I just said it's Fork and Delicious. I was like, yo, that's a great name.
That is a great freaking name. And again, the logo and everything, it just ties in
Exactly.
together as food.
Well, and it's clean.
Tell us a little bit about your personality, that you're not trying to play it clean, you know.
And one of the things I love about it is it doesn't tie me to one type of cuisine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So Fork and Delicious means that I'm making food that's delicious.
Right.
It doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
You know, I don't like that people tie themselves to a certain brand if they know more than what they really know. Like for example, we did Asian style dumplings
Nice.
at this dinner with the gochujang lobster bisque. If I had tied myself to Italian food, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I'm not just that. And that's the thing I want people to understand is that Fork and Delicious is a brand, but it doesn't consume to one type of cuisine. You know, me, Matt, anybody else who's working with us brings their own flavor profiles. My friend Tim Bellantoni, he came in and, you know, he made family meal that night, but the pork he made was freaking amazing.
Yeah.
So it's like we can do a little of everything. That's the great part is that if people call me and they're like, what's your specialty? I'm like, whatever you want it to be today. Because I know so many different cuisines from being all over.
Right. You got the Italian in you. You got the French from your like certificate.
Yeah.
You got the like Texas
Southwest fusion.
From your family, you said that somebody did barbecue?
Yeah, my uncle did barbecue.
So barbecue.
Yep. And then like I learned steakhouse. I know fine dining, coastal
Right.
cuisine because I was in California and here you get the
Right.
fresh seafood. It's just being able to take those aspects and put them together
Yeah.
with that little twist that people go, holy shit.
Seriously, man, because again, like your experience from all these places you freaking lifted, or you went to Mexico, you learned from one abuela, all these things like tying together, and you could create something so freaking unique.
Well, and you know, and it's not just about like a lot of my story comes from overcoming the past. You know, like the car accident where I broke my back. You know,
Oh, damn.
been losing a baseball scholarship, all this stuff, like where I kept shooting myself in the foot constantly. That the brand that I want to build is be able to give back to those people too that can't get the upper hand in life, you know, or can't get out of their own way. You know, I want to help people, and that's the biggest aspect. Is like I want to help people, and I can't reiterate that enough, especially in the world we live in. You know, it's just everything's so volatile that like I want to be able to be the change, but also if one of the concepts I want to come up with, obviously I want my fine dining restaurant. Can't tell the name because that's a secret.
Nice.
But the next one I want to do is fast casual.
Okay.
And all because I want to help people coming out of prison get reform and get a second chance.
Gotcha.
You know,
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends who've been in and out and they can't get that second chance. That's why they keep going back. And it's like one of the best people that I ever hired was this dude, Rusty. And I told this story on another podcast, or I think it was a podcast. Rusty, he was in jail for 20 something years and he came out and he came to me when I was working with Chris and he was like, I want a second chance.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I'll give you a chance. Ended up being one of the best employees I've ever hired, and he was in his late 60s.
Oh, damn.
He worked harder than the kids in the 20s.
Yeah.
You know, it was great. You know, so like that's why I want to be able to do that. I want to, and just living the life and understanding like the past. Like, I want to be able to use that platform to help people, and that's really what it is. That's what it comes down to.
That's awesome. So like that ties in with my next question, which is what comes next, right? So you already told us a little bit about your ideas with restaurants and also with your mission with Fork and Delicious. But so the very first thing that's happening after this is the one in April, right?
Yep. So April 26th.
So
Tickets go up for sale on April 7th. We're only opening up 16 seats per dinner.
wow. So definitely make sure you get you can't get the tickets yet, but make sure you're looking out for those tickets.
Yeah, we'll make sure that it's posted on everything. So
Yeah.
I'll even share it with him so he can post it.
Yeah. I'll put his page so you guys could also follow him. Of
There
course.
we go.
You know, follow that journey. But then aside from that, tell us like how big is this Fork and Delicious dream that you have?
I hope it goes across the nation, man.
Yeah.
I want to go into all the major communities and help.
Right.
Like obviously, I think the next step I would do is if it gets big enough in Connecticut, is I would take it to California.
Yeah.
California has a great, agriculture system, great sourcing community, and it's just one of those places that I hold near and dear because that's where I learned. I went to culinary school, so like, if it was still around my culinary school, I would love to be able to partner with them and do something, but unfortunately, that's not the case. But obviously, I want to give back to all those communities. Like, I would love to bring it to Arizona. I would love to bring it to Dallas. I would love to go nationwide, but if it compromises anything that has to do with the actual brand and the product we're putting out, then I'm good. I'll keep it here.
Gotcha. So you're not like tying yourself to those dreams to a point where you're gonna like.
I'm never gonna compromise what I'm doing.
Compromise the mission, which is what's important to you. I got you.
Exactly. Not just the food, but the backing to it. I will never ever compromise that.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, before we close it out, I do want to ask you, what's your favorite meal? What's your favorite dish, man?
Ooh.
Let the chef tell us what's really good.
You ever seen that meme where it's Ben Affleck and he's smoking a cigarette and he's all depressed and he's like
sad Affleck.
It's like exactly. It's like because it goes when you ask a chef what his favorite meal is or his favorite thing to cook is. I'm gonna go with my favorite food that I like to eat.
Yeah.
I'm a whore for pizza.
Oh yeah.
I love pizza.
So let's settle this debate: Connecticut or New York?
Connecticut.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah, because I mean, New Yorkers are still salty.
There's an asterisk on the Connecticut one because I'm a huge fan of Greek pizza.
Oh yeah. Is there Greek pizza around
here? There's Jordan's right over here. You ever been there?
No, actually no. Not for pizza. I've had their food, but I didn't.
Let's go to Jordan's. Right now.
Let's go.
Let's end the podcast and go eat Jordan's.
Greek pizza.
Greek pizza. Hope Street Pizza on Stanford. Jordan's. And there was a place on Greenwich Avenue called Pizza Factory back in the day. I don't know if you remember that.
No, that one I don't remember.
So that's all Greek style pizza, and I think that comes above everything.
Yeah.
But next is that New Haven style.
Yeah. Well, Frank Pepe's or which one?
I'm biased, man.
Which one?
I used to do KM at Sally's. So
yeah, they're opening right here.
They're one right here.
Yeah.
So Sally's, I love. So my top 3 in Connecticut of New Haven style pizza is going to be modern. Yeah. This is not in any order. This is a 3. So nobody's come at me for this. There's modern, Roseland of Pizza in Derby, and Sally's. Those are my 3 New Haven style pizzas.
I got 2 to try because I haven't tried
Roseland. Roseland's a vibe when you go in there because it's like it looks like a mom and pop place. But New Haven style pizza is amazing. New York pizza is just pizza, man. It's just it's one of those you fold in half and you just eat it if you're walking through a train station.
I didn't realize how good the pizza was here until I was in Seattle and I did a food tour and they gave us a pizza.
It was terrible.
It was so bland.
So I learned that when I was in California. California has shit fucking pizza.
Yeah.
California, fucking step it up.
Hey, but they got good tacos. The tacos,
you can't.
Jesus Christ,
dude. I mean, yeah. But
I didn't even like tacos.
Well, but then pizza in Phoenix. There's Pizzeria Bianco. That place is unreal.
Yeah.
Like Phoenix actually has some good pizza.
But like what, New Yorkers who moved over there?
It's always an East Coast person. And you know what the trick is there, and it's just like the bagel myth.
Yeah.
It's the water. So people ship water from New York to Arizona just to make the doughs.
Damn, man.
It does make a difference. I'll give you that.
Really?
That. Oh,
So it's not a
bagels,
exaggeration?
Bagels with Phoenix water compared to New York water, different game. If you can get water in Phoenix because it's so damn hot.
Yeah. What are some more of those myths of like food around the country? Because like I've traveled around and like every time I'm like, damn, we're lucky. We could get any type of food.
Well, Midwest, and this is for my friend Kayla. If you're gonna watch this, so it's gonna be funny. Midwest is casseroles, man.
Yeah.
Like everything can be made into a casserole. It's kind of crazy.
Pizza casserole.
She'll be like, "Oh, I made this casserole," and I'm like, "Do you make normal food in the Midwest?" Like, I'm just joking, Midwest. Don't get mad at me, but that's the thing is they make everything into a casserole.
Yeah.
You know what? I've tried. Everyone talks about alligator. It's very good.
I think I had snake. No,
I had rattlesnake in Phoenix, and it was actually surprisingly good.
It was very good.
Yeah. So like I've eaten some weird stuff. Like I'll try anything once.
All right. Next question. What's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
Monkey brain.
Oh fuck! Really? Where? In Colombia?
It was actually in China. It was from China.
Oh,
so
they do that in Colombia. Or they used to, like not anymore. But
So one of the kids that I used to go to school with when I got sent away to boarding school upstate, his dad would work for the Chinese consulate.
Yeah.
And he brought it all up, and we tried it, and it was,
how was it?
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
I felt weird because they served
like
it in the head.
Chewy or something?
No, it was actually very, very sweet, and it was almost like think of a braised beef, but like soft, like a little more slimy. Yeah. That's kind of what it was like. They served it in the head of the monkey, though. And
it was like fully like cooked.
Oh yeah, they boiled the head and then cut it open. And, it was one of those things I looked at and I was like, I was
Oh,
only
okay.
like 17 years old, so I was like, this is fucking weird.
So you didn't have that perspective of like,
No.
what the fuck?
I would love to try it now just to see if my taste buds have changed.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So,
So
but yeah,
I went to Japan and then they gave us raw chicken, and it was so weird.
I wouldn't be able to do it.
Turns out it wasn't raw. It was that they cook it with the oils or something,
Uh-huh.
right? But it feels and
It's like that
put it in your
texture.
mouth is no, but it was delicious, man.
Really?
I was so weirded out.
Because for a little bit there was this thing
Yeah.
online, and don't get me wrong, they call me the chicken Nazi when I'm in the kitchen because I make people like clean everything, touch everything. Like
No, you
can get people really sick.
Tyler.
But like there was this thing going around with chicken sashimi.
Right. Maybe that's what it was. Yeah.
Basically, what they do is they kill the chicken immediately and then clean it, and then you eat it right away because it doesn't have time to grow bacteria if you do that way.
Yeah.
I still could not get behind that. I'm sorry. It's like one of those things. There's three foods I will not eat. I hate cottage cheese. I will not eat raw chicken,
Yeah.
and I'm not an olive fan, surprisingly.
I hate
I'm
olives.
Italian and I fucking hate olives.
Fuck olives.
I can't stand them. The flavor's so powerful.
Yeah.
It just it cancels everything else out,
Yeah, I don't like olives.
even on my pizza. But yeah, that's
But dude, it's again, there's so many different possibilities. So I'll tell you another one. I'm Colombian, right?
Mhm.
I'm originally from Colombia. We have something called big ass ants, like literally asses, like ants with big asses,
no shit.
and they're crunchy as hell. And I've never had one, but I want to have it. But like I
I'll
talk
try
to
it.
people all the time. They tell me it's really good. And I'm like,
Yeah, I'll try it. I'll
There you
try
go.
anything once. I'll try anything once. You know, I mean, it's funny because like I had this conversation with somebody pretty recently, and it was like, "Would you try anything?" I was like, "I will try anything
yeah,
once."
yeah. And if you don't like it,
But like
that's
sometimes just don't tell me what the fuck it is
true.
because I'll psych myself out.
Yeah.
Like I remember on was it Fear Factor when they ate was it cow or bull?
Oh, the
bull?
balls or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Don't tell me. I'll just try it.
Here's a donut.
Tell me
A
afterward.
munchkin.
Tell me afterward. I'll try it. And just tell me after. But yeah, no. I
Oh,
mean,
man. That's wild.
it's the whole point of the industry is if I'm a firm believer that if you don't try it, you don't know it.
Right.
You know, it's funny because I've dated girls who are like the pickiest eaters. They eat like children,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
You don't even know what that is.
like I'm a chef, man. You gotta like I'm trying to create something. You got to try it.
Yeah.
But I don't understand people's mindsets when they're closed off to trying new things.
Yeah.
Because that's how you learn in life. Everything kind of pertains the same way. Your adventurous side helps you learn and grow as a person.
Right.
People who sit idle,
Right.
if you don't step out of your comfort zone, you don't grow.
Right.
And I mean, my life story is just stepping out of my comfort zone one thing after another. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But like you said, that's what builds you.
Exactly.
That's why you're where you are, man. So,
Exactly. And that's why I want to give back to those communities. I want people to grow themselves. I want everybody to learn how to grow. Because like growth is the biggest thing. If you sit idle, you die.
All right, man. So you have a really awesome story, man. I have no doubt that you're going to do great. Any last words you want to leave people?
Fork and Delicious, we'll be doing these dinners monthly. We made a partnership with Ridgefield, so we'll be posting a little bit more about that. But April 7th, tickets go on sale for April 26th, and we'll have more details to follow all that. But my closing out words are, don't be stupid. Grow. That's what fucking life's about.
Hell yeah. Well, all right. Thank you for being with us, bro.
Thank you very much, man.
And until next one, I'm Caesar. This is Chef Ben, and we will see you soon.
It's Fork and Delicious, baby.
Fork and delicious.